Okay, so where we left off with the electron configurations was using Aufbau's diagram to find the different electron configurations of any atom. And we said that if, as long as we had Aufbau's diagram and we followed the arrows, we could write out the electron configuration for any element. And we needed to know, of course, that S held 2 and P holds up to 6 and D holds up to 10 and F holds up to 14. And we haven't gotten into any elements that have a G yet. But, and they fill Aufbau's like this, following Aufbau's diagram, based on the fact that this will give them the most stable state. And most stable state means lowest possible energy. Now the but. The but is that there are exceptions. There are exceptions because sometimes when you get to the 3D, you don't have quite enough electrons to fill it. Okay, so like maybe we're at 3D9, like we were for copper, or silver 4D9, gold 5D9. The D level is not quite full, but the S level is. And if you think of the electrons as little kids who want their team complete, then when you have 9 in the D and you're missing 1, it's going to mean you're going to have 9 whining kids. They're not going to be very stable. They're going to be very unhappy. And because of that, it is very common for when the D is almost full to steal, to borrow 1 from the preceding S to make it full, and to leave the S as just an S1, whatever the number might be, and then it becomes D10. It's true that the 1 in the S is now not, that's left alone in the S is not going to be happy, but it's better to have 1 unhappy than it is to have 9 unhappy. Okay, so lots of times when you get to a D level that's almost full, it will borrow from the S to get filled because then the overall atom will be more stable. It also happens when your D level is close to half full, when the D is at 4, because remember there are 5 energy levels, right? And it's 5 subshells in the D. And Hund's rule tells us that an electron will go in each one with a parallel spin before they double up. So when the D is 4, it means you're left with 1 guy that doesn't have an electron. And so when that happens, it is not unheard of that the D would then borrow 1 from the S to put it in here and leave the S as 1. So this would become whatever number it is, S1 blank D5. So these are exceptions to Aufbau's diagram. And of course, as always, there are exceptions to the exceptions. So what we're going to look at today, there's 2 sets of exceptions, but this first one is the D borrowing from the S, okay? And so how we're going to do it is we're going to write down what it should be if it followed Aufbau's diagram, and then what it becomes to become more stable. So the first exception, and really there's no way that you would know this, you personally and as a grade 12 student, until you did this stuff. How do we find, scientists know it because they've been studying it, but as we look at it, you'll be able to recognize, now that you know the D likes to be full, you'll recognize some of them. And then, of course, there are exceptions to the exceptions. So chromium is 24, so it'll be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, and then 3d4. But 3d4 is not as stable as 3d5, so it becomes 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1, 3d5. So this is what it really is, okay? Copper. We did copper for homework. Copper, and maybe let's do the kernel method just because it'll be quicker. So copper's preceding noble gas is argon, and then if it was following Aufbau's diagram, it would be 4s2 3d9. But because it's an exception, it's really argon 4s1 3d10. And this is the real electron configuration of copper, more stable because the 3D is full. In B. This is where I'm missing you to tell me how to pronounce these. Also has argon as its preceding noble gas. Just as I lied. It has krypton. It'd be good if I was looking. All right. Let me take these out of here and make this better. Okay, so it has krypton as its nearest noble gas because it's 41. And so it's going to be, it should be, if it was obeying Aufbau's diagram, 5s2 4d3. Now before you get too excited, because I would want it to steal 2, but it doesn't. It doesn't have the guts. It only steals 1. So apparently 4d4 is still more stable than 4d3. Molybdenum is MO is 42. So krypton is its preceding noble gas. 5s2 4d4 because it just has 1 more than the previous. And this time it goes to 5s1 4d5. So the previous one is an exception to the exception. This is the expected exception. Next one is 43, and it's just weird, and I apologize. 5s2 4d5, you would think it should be happy, but what we know is that it still takes 1 from the s, maybe just because it can. And so it becomes 4d6, which is definitely an exception to the exception. That was Titanium. The next one is Rut Tinium. Its set equals 44, so it's still krypton. 5s2 4d6, and again it steals 1 and becomes 5s1 4d7. Rhodium. This is one of the ones that Marie Curie worked with, I believe. 5s2 4d7. I think it was one of the first ones. And so instead it becomes krypton 5s1 4d8. So these last 3, why do they do that? The answer is because they're more stable like this. Why are they more stable? Because they have lower energy. Why do they have lower energy? Jury's still out. All right, the next one is palladium. And this one might be my favorite. So it would be 5s2 4d8 if it obeyed Aufbau's diagram. And you might be able to guess why it's my favorite. Because it has the guts and it steals both. And so it goes, 5s disappears and it goes to 4d10. I like this one. Silver we did for homework last night. Silver is preceding noble gas is also krypton. It's going to be 5s2 4d9, and you guessed it, it goes to krypton 5s1 4d10. Okay? Platinum. Platinum is the next level up, 78. So its preceding noble gas is xeon. And then the next S level, so instead of it being 4D, it's going to be 5D. So the next S level is 6, since the previous one was 5. So 6, and then it goes to F, 4F14, and then 5D, and it's 5D8. And you might wish that platinum actually had as much guts as the earlier one did, but it doesn't. It just steals 1. It's still taking it from the S, no, not the F, because if it took it from the F, then there would be like 13 Fs unhappy. So 6S1, 4F14, 5D9. And the last one, gold, we already